Okay, good evening, everyone. Hi. Hey, Chi, thank you for joining. Basima, could you open up in prayer?
Yes, I can. Hold on a second. I'm driving. Give me a second. Heavenly Father, we come before you, first of all, giving you thanks. We want to say that you are wonderful. You are amazing. Thank you for waking us up this morning in our right minds, able to use our limbs. We're happy to be on the wake up list because we know there are those that weren't. We ask that you continue to bless us and guide us and keep us. We thank you for putting the vision in my sister and my nephew for this platform, Healing Through Trauma. Lord God, we ask that you open the door for someone to share the healing part, because it is healing through trauma. We got the trauma down pat. We want to hear some of the healing stories, because we're not doing this just because. We want the healing to come through the trauma. So we ask that you just open that door and let someone or anybody just share anything about the healing part of this whole thing since it started. We ask that you just continue just to allow this platform to be here for those who need it, or those who need it for someone else. We just want to give your name all the glory and all the honor, because we know that something great has come from this, and it will continue to come through this. We just love you. We adore you. And we're just so thankful. We ask these things in your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, so it's funny that you said that, because me and Tawana was on the phone today, and we was talking about the healing part. So for the ones that don't know, that's new to this, my name is Elaine Lee. I started, as well as with my son Gregory Carter, this Healing Through Trauma during the pandemic. We realized that, well, I had to actually, as the chief of staff, I reached out to a lot of my constituents just to check on them. A lot of the seniors was really excited. They just was happy that someone reached out to them, because during the COVID, people was left alone. People, loved ones went to the hospital and passed away alone. And so the pandemic took us through a state that we all needed to just sit down. And through that, we started this Healing Through Trauma. But previous to that, before the pandemic, me and my son Gregory, who's up here, we went into the schools, because my son Eric was murdered in 2018. And Gregory got shot in 2017 and in 18. And with that, my son was murdered. And then the second time Greg was shot, the girl he was with, Kelly, she passed away. And so, he was feeling like, because whatever he was going through, people, they say that people was after him. So he felt like, if we could say, we lost 2 lives, if we could save 2 lives. So we started going into the school, just talking to the students and the parents, and it worked out really well. But during this process, we have been on here a lot, and we have been having some healing stories. Tawana, me and Tawana was talking about that today, and she was saying how, could you speak, Tawana? I don't want to speak for you, Tawana.
Elaine, don't put me on the spot.
Please, let's go. Just share how you said this talking about it helped
us. Okay, walking away. I was talking to Elaine earlier, and I was telling her how I cope with my situation, losing my mom. I lost my brother as well. I cope with, at one point, I used to couldn't talk about the way I felt because I lost my mom. But as time went on, Elaine being in my life, she helped me get through some things. I found myself going to the grave a lot. And that was my comfort zone, where I could be able to speak and express how I felt. And when I be there, stuff always lifted off my back. So I felt like she took some of the stress off and tried to help me through my pain that I was feeling because I lost her. I was telling Elaine, like, I would sit outside, lay on the grass, listen to music and talk to her, do my homework, whatever. It put me in a better spirit. I'd be sad, I cried, But when I left there, I felt different. I don't know what else you want me to talk about. Like,
Okay, I mean,
I mean,
asking you to
yeah,
share.
right. So I mean, um, I still go through this pain. I still go through this pain every day. At one point, I was working so much because I felt like if I'm at work, I don't have time to let it sit in and to deal with the pain that I was facing. But at the end of the day, when I'm alone, then I get depressed because now the thoughts get there. When you stay busy, you don't get to think about it. But sometimes you need to think about it. So this way you can relieve uh, whatever feeling you're going through or whatever at that time what you're going through. Talking about it and being around people help me move better. I don't know.
Tawana,
But Elaine,
it's okay. No, no,
Elaine,
no, no, Tawana. I don't want to pressure you. She just wanted some stories to on anybody that's on here that since we've been doing this, has it helped you to heal? I mean, don't stress yourself. You did say that you're able to open up more, and that's a good thing.
yes.
That's what we want. We want some good to come about of this.
But I could talk about it now. At one point, I couldn't talk about it because it hurted me so much, so bad. Now I actually can talk about my mom. Do I still be depressed when I talk about it? Yes, I do, but it's a different depression. It's not, it's not. I'm not sobbing. I'm not emotionally disturbed anymore. Do I still need to go to counseling? Yes, I do, because I'm still grieving. I'm grieving in my own way. But and I want to put Elaine on the spot because I was asking her about herself and her trauma and how she coped with all the stuff that she coped with, and then having to have other people stress on her back, and she carried as well. So Elaine, you can explain to them how you carry this weight so. I don't know. I told you he's an amazing person. I don't understand how you do it, but you do it. You have your own trauma, but you always seem to have everybody else's trauma, but you cope with it and you deal with it. You help everybody else go through whatever they're going through. Let us know how you do it. Besides, I know God, He helps us because He helped me through a long way. I mean, He helped me.
Okay, so of
Go ahead.
course I am going to say by the grace of God. Do I still go through? Absolutely. Like today I had a moment. I was saying I'm not going to do it, be on here this long, but of course I smile, y'all. By the grace of God, to be honest, helping and talking to people helps me. I feel like that's how I get my peace. I'm over at Shani Baraka Center now. As of July the 26th. I'm no longer the chief of staff for the Southport Councilman. I'm now at Shani Baraka as a victim's advocate and a victim advocate for trauma, right? And this is what I want to touch on. I've been doing a lot of classes over there. We've been doing a lot of support groups. And on here today, y'all, I want to talk about love, right? I want to talk about maybe Shay. I want to talk about because when I'm talking to people, I'm realizing that a lot of people got to learn to love themselves. And until we can really learn to love ourselves, it's going to be hard for us to love others, right? I'm just a genuinely caring and a loving person. And so every day I'm trying to give out love. I'm trying to give somebody a hug. And in doing this, y'all, my son was murdered. And so when I talk to other parents, other women, a lot of them grieve without hope. A lot of them say to me, I don't want to wake up anymore. I want to be where he's at. And God has blessed me, and not saying nobody else is blessed, but I'm talking about myself right now. God has blessed me able to deal with it. And I believe I don't want my son to die in vain. Right. I want him to be celebrated. And so I celebrate every chance I get. Right. I mean, of course, we all come to go, and he was murdered. They took him, but they will not take the memories. I will not allow nobody to take his memories. So I just want to celebrate So every chance I get, I try to tell people, yeah, we're going to grieve, but don't let them go in vain. And so if you got to show your loved one's picture, if you want to share and laugh and talk about them, that's how I get through. But I also am learning that somehow, even if we just talk about it, we got to all start loving ourselves. Shay, do you agree? And I call people out, so come on.
Elaine and brothers and sisters that are on this, yes, I agree that you do have to love yourself, and also understand that no one is going to automatically understand the pain that you're going through. I can't, my one child is 13 years old, but Elaine, the mothers that have gone through what you're going through, what the other sister had touched on, and others that we know, right down the street from where I live right here in Avon and Seymour, a mother went through similar to what you went through, Elaine, with her 16-year-old. And I had heard the incident happening, thinking that it was something else. And then they're like, Shay, no, the young man was misidentified, XYZ. But I've just since then, whenever I do pass that mother's porch, it's right at Seymour and Madison, right there at that corner before you get to Clinton Ave. That mother has been struggling at the same time, but I see her try to do some kind of activities that are self-loving or bringing positive people over to the house, because it's a process.
Mhm.
No one is prepared to have to deal with the transition of any family member, let alone their child. But on the other side of that, one of my good friends who is married, his brother got shot in Pilgrim Village. And this particular young man has been in denial about his brother's transition. He hasn't been able to do any self-love.
Mhm.
So I want to encourage what you were saying, Elaine. We all have different ways that we can begin to find an activity that radiates some self-love in our life. For me, it's sports, whether it's playing a little softball with the rec or playing basketball. I have to do something to reconnect myself to like my youth, so that I'm not like getting caught up into like the seriousness of my career or what's going on around me like that. So I think that's interesting that you touched on that, Elaine, because parents who are going through what you've gone through and are new parents at that, they sometimes don't know where to go, Elaine,
Yep.
or how to even go about it. I hope I responded to that okay.
You did, but let me ask you something. So Shay, everyone, I wouldn't, I don't know if he's single or not, but I know I always see him with his child. He's a very involved father, right? And so even as a community, I know he tried to run for a couple of things, but we need men, and I want to thank you for being a part of the village. You know, that's what I talk about, the village. But when I was coming up, and when we was coming up, we had a village. We looked out for each other. If your neighbor was hungry, you fed them. And so I definitely want to commend you for being a part of the village. But I also want to say this, as far as mentoring or just loving on our children, because they go through a lot, whether it's being bullied in school or not. I had interviewed one of my son's friends. He's in jail right now, and they let me interview him via Zoom. And he's actually locked up for murder. But when he got charged, he got life. But when he got charged, he was a juvenile. And so, you know, it's a new law, or I don't know if the law, where you couldn't really charge a juvenile as an adult and give them life. And so I'm bringing that up to say, I asked him, you know, because I was a part of the village. So we would do the basketball games, the football games, we would be there. And through his story, he had a mom in his life. She did the best she can. And I asked him, and he did join the game, what made him go the way he went? And I want everyone to know that he said, you know, I just really wanted to be a part of the games, right? He said, but I also used to get locked up in the youth house, and it was so much fun. He said he used to look forward to going back to the youth house. And so sometimes when these young guys are out here stealing cars and you know, political wise, we want to say, people saying, oh, we got to do something about these children, the youth is running wild, but some of them just crying out for help. And hearing his story, like, it was fun. He wanted to keep going back. And so if you can mentor a child or talk to a child, and Shay, you do it all the time, you with the football or whatever sport that you in, I just wanted you to touch on that part as far as being, because you're out here with the youth. How could we help them, you think?
Elaine, it doesn't, several of them that are having contact with gang culture, I don't tell them to stop like affiliating themselves with their particular like neighborhood of Newark, but I try to get them to value like their lifestyle. Like you don't have to hang out under somebody else 4 days out of 7 days out of the week. I'm trying to think of how to respond to that. Not every child that I've mentored has had the same childhood that I had, where you had parents around or uncles around to kind of like springboard your problems off of, or just a barbershop to go into to talk to who cuts my hair on how to go about talking to a lady, or just self-esteem things that younger growing boys need into teenage years. Elaine, a lot of them are extremely intelligent. They have a high level of what I call experiential intelligence, because they always measure us in IQ. But the gang population in Newark has a very high experiential knowledge. And some of that conversation that you heard about he might like going into the youth house is because him or her might have some social equity, because they're so familiar with the fabric of the behaviors. They don't see what they're doing as dangerous all of the time. But a lot of times, Elaine, a lot of them haven't been given a step up plan to eventually leave the block altogether. Like maybe their goal is to eventually, build a bedroom for their daughter, their newly born daughter. I was talking to them about that with one of the Bloods here. I won't say what part of Newark, but I was telling him, I said, wouldn't that be dope? Just you being able to build your daughter's room, like you being able to put the things that you want in your daughter's room. He was like, damn, Che, I never even really thought about that. He was like, but by the time she's 5, I definitely want to have the stuff that I want in her room. And I didn't think about it as nothing. This person is way more street savvy than me, because this particular person grew up with no parents. So he was explaining to me, Elaine, that his version of empathy or sympathy is different than how I may see it. In that, he was just sharing that what you were saying. We all need to share more love with each other and build each other up when we have those opportunities to. Because the males, we don't always open up as easily. Mm-hmm. But if there are credible messengers in our life or in our that have contact with us, the credible messengers can reach that youth house population, northern state population, federal, Lewisburg, the feds. A lot of the real good Norcos who could be leading this blueprint of behavioral change that you're talking about, Elaine, a lot of them are locked up in federal prison. I haven't been able to go visit them, but not on Zoom. Maybe one day we can have some cup of coffee and make a list of folks who don't want another generation of Newark being treated like animals either, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense. Thank you, Shay, for sharing. Basima, would you like to share on how this experience has been happening? I'd like to welcome everybody that just got on. So right now we was talking about the grief, and we was actually talking about how being on Zoom for the past couple of years, I think it's going on 2 years, how have this helped you, because with the healing process. So Basima, would you like to talk about your healing process? You muted. You got to unmute.
I hit the button. I ain't slow. Wait a minute now. It has. I'm a talker anyway, so I'm able to talk and express myself.
And you driving, so I think you're frozen.
Depression, I wasn't, I didn't want to talk about stuff. I just held it in because I got to be that strong woman for my kids, for my family, for, whatever. But after I went through that depression, I became a talker. I don't want that to be all bottled up inside because it weighs you down. And then through this, talking about the death of my husband, talking about me going through cancer, talking about just, losing my dad, losing my mom or whatever, it has helped me help someone else, because outside of the Zoom, I talk to other people about who's experiencing cancer. Just because I never wanted to talk about it. I look at, I feel it like, I don't want somebody to look at me like, oh, boss, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not the woe is me person. But then I said, the God that I serve allows us to go through things, not for ourselves, but for other people. So I can talk to someone about going through cancer, how I handled it, how, God has put something in me to be able to deal with this. Because before stuff like this happened, I'm thinking I can't deal with this, but I can. I was built for it, So just talking on here has helped me to help someone else. I haven't had the, thank you, Jesus, the experience of losing a child, but I have, a lot of my family members have, and I can feel their pain, not experience it like they going through, but I feel it. And I can talk to someone about that. Like, my sister, my cousin, lost a child or whatever. And even trying to put them in contact with you, Elaine, like to get on the Zoom, they not ready yet, but that's okay. I talked to them about it, and I'm like, you can just get on and just listen. You know what I'm saying? These young girls, the men that's on there, my sister, my nephew, my niece, they are phenomenal people. And why I say phenomenal is because they can talk about this thing. They can tell you, how they dealt with it. You might not be able to deal with it the way they dealt with it, but it's a beautiful thing. It just touched my heart. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of this new generation don't want to talk. They don't want, it's not cool. They want to keep it bottled up inside, and that's definitely not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm using this to help people down in the Virginia area. And like I said, they're not ready to come on and stuff yet, but I'm gonna get them there, because I'm sure that they can get something from this. So, that's my experience. It just helps me to, run off at the mouth and share. I don't share that about, a couple of people's business, but they don't know y'all. So don't think they're going to, run around and tell y'all business, but it's helped them, you know what I'm saying? Because, the conversation be going back and forth. They're like, wow, that happened. Wow, yeah. We're not the only ones that's, going through stuff. And like I was talking to this lady today, and we were talking about the village, how our parents were, how as little kids, we couldn't sit in grown people's face while they're having a conversation. We couldn't have conversation with grown people back and forth and all that. This generation is not like that. They can sit around their parents and have conversation, grown people conversation. We didn't do that. We didn't do that with grandma. We didn't do that with mom. My mother used to give us a look, and it shook us to our soul, and we rolled out. You look at these kids now, they be like, what? Excuse me. I'll be like, did you just see the look? And it's like they want to give you the look back. I think we need to get back that control, not to have our kids scared of us, but just to have that control of respect. You know what I'm saying? I tell my granddaughter all the time, we're not having a conversation. I said what I said. So why are we going back and forth? We didn't do that. The things that these kids, say to their parents now and to their grandparents, never would say that to my grandmother or my mother. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where we lost our children. When they tried to become their children's friends. We're not friends. Yeah, I want to be cool with my child. I want us to be okay, but we're not friends. We're not friends. You know what I'm saying? Certain things is just not supposed to happen as parent and child. So I think if we can get that level of control back to say, okay, I'm the parent, I'm the grandparent. Yeah, I want you to be able to talk to me, but it's a line that you ain't gonna cross. You know what I'm saying? So I just, in my church, before the whole COVID thing started, I was trying to get something started where, because I want to be like an advocate for, young women, older women, for domestic abuse, things like that, because there's a lot of women, when we talked about that last time, that's going through it but don't want to say anything. So I think we need to try to, and it ain't even just got to be domestic. It's just got to be somewhere where these young girls can go and they can talk, because no child, they don't want to talk to their own people, their own parent or grandparent. So, just so that they can, because a lot of these young girls now, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that, they don't know how to be ladies because they don't got nobody showing them, So I think the bottom line is we got to just try to get some control back. And I feel like this thing is helping somewhat. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Sorry. Because I'll be going on and on.
Yeah, because you done went left a couple of times. We appreciate you though.
Yes, I went left. Yes, left, right, around the corner.
So before
I'm excited. You got me excited about this.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're excited. Before we move on to the next speaker, I want them to know too. So also with the Shani Baraka Center, right? And let's just talk about grief for a minute. Everybody grieves in a whole different way. And so I'm not going to say never let, because people will say to you, you still going through that? Well, it's been this long. It's been that long. You have a right to grieve as long as you could. At Shani Baraka Center, it originally started off as a domestic violence for women, but so we have social workers there. They have grief counseling. I want to introduce Kettles in a minute, because I don't know, Kettles, I don't think you're still doing the grief counseling, but we do grief counseling. We have the LGBTQ office. So it's for people that's in their own community. You could come in. They have, you could come in. So I'm a victim's advocate. We also have housing. We help with housing. Kettles, jump in. And so I'm saying that to say we also have social workers. So when some may say, because I did have somebody that I sent the Zoom to today, and he inboxed me personally and said he's going through some things and he needs somebody to reach out to him, because it's kind of deeper than getting on Zoom and just sharing. And so he needs someone to contact him. So I did tell him that I work at Shani Baraka Center, and Monday I will go in and I will speak to them, and I will have a social worker speak out to them, because everybody, some things is a little deeper than others. So Shani Baraka Center is 300 Clinton Avenue. All is welcome. I'm there. A young lady came to me Friday and was like, what is it that you do with the trauma? So just talking, and we talked for so long, I ended up saying I will be her mentor. She was 23 years old. And so we just got to love on these children, y'all. And when I'm saying, they just need someone to talk to them. I want to call out Dondre, and it's only because my cousin Dondre has been on here several times, and as a man, I just want to hear from him. His sound never really works, but when Basima was talking, you was like, yep. So I was like, yes, he could talk today. So go ahead, Dondre. Hello. Don't unmute now, but Dondre, come on. So that's my cousin Dondre Harton. Dondre, if you don't want to speak, you don't have to speak, but you can say hello.
Could you hear me?
Yes, we could.
Oh, okay. No, because I like to hear this stuff, man, because it's everybody speaking on stuff different, and everybody got different opinions, and it all sound good, you know what I mean? But especially what Boss was saying, what she said, but like now we living in times where as though you want to go back to how it was when we was children to do some of the things to these kids, but then then they want to, get you locked up or whatever. But one thing she said that really touched me was when she said, when your parents give you the look, that freaking look will I mean, the look will have you shook because believe me, I mean, just knowing that when you get that look and you don't, take heed to me looking at you, oh man, you was getting it. And believe me, when you got it, you knew that you was getting it. But
Mhm.
that's what's wrong with a lot of these kids now. A lot of these kids, they growing up faster than their age. And a lot of it got to do with their parents, because you got a lot of young parents that's, grandparents. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And a lot of them, man, they just out there, and it's
So,
kind of
so let me say this to you, Dondre, because we talked about this downtown, like even at meetings, right? And they talk about how because right now, I guess the thing to do now is like uh stealing cars, right?
right.
And so they talk about how well, if the parents was doing it, if the parents was doing that, I want to vouch for, and I'm just speaking this because we're not down the parents, or we're not putting them, we're definitely not doing that. Excuse me.
Right.
But as a working for the councilman's office, and then I would go and mentor, or they would call me over at Avon Avenue School. And so they would have me come and speak to a lot of the students that were really going through, right? And defense to the parents, and it's definitely different from when we grew up. You know, grandparents are raising a lot of children now, whether it's due to parents being on drugs or whatever the case it may be. But it's a lot of parents, and I want to vouch for them. It's a lot of parents that try to get help. I have went with a couple of women, mothers, to try to get their daughters was running away, wanting to hang out on the street. And no matter how many times they run away, they call the police. And even if they want to say, okay, let's leave them there for a while. Since they keep running away, we're going to let them stay there. Nope. Either you coming to get them, or we're going to put charges on you. And so with some of the parents, their hands is tied by the system. They'll say, oh, they're not doing enough. But when you try to get help, you don't qualify. Or if you try to get help, they saying you can't do this and you can't do that. You can't just stay out the child. And children know. They can go say, oh, they hit me, and then it's a whole big different thing. And so I think as a village, we need to come together, because there's some children that's out of control. So even if we can go to their parents and say, hey, it's this program downtown, or even with the Scare Straight, that don't even scare them anymore, because they know technically them inmates cannot hit them. And so we got to come up with a solution, or just even a mentoring, because a lot of them just want to talk. A lot of these children, you understand what I'm saying, Dondre?
That's true. That's true. That's true. You're right about that.
So is there someone else that want to speak on that topic?
Yeah, let's talk about grief a little bit. Hello,
Introduce
everyone.
yourself.
My name is Ms. Kettles, and I'm formerly the grief specialist from the Shani Baraka Women's Resource Center. Been knowing Elaine for a long time, right? So I just wanted to touch on the grief part a little bit. I still do a couple of private grief counseling sessions with people, because let's start with grief never ends.
Yes.
Right? So we all have loved and lost. And if you think back, like I'll say my mom been gone for 12 years and it feels like yesterday. That's why when people say grief never ends, it doesn't. But we have to learn how to create coping skills so we can learn how to cope with the loss of our loved ones. Nobody can tell you that it's a time limit on grieving, because it's different from everybody. And let me just add this extra piece. Men grieve differently. They are taught from a very young age, men don't cry, right?
Yes.
I'm sure they cry in private, but it has to be okay. And that's where the embracing and the encouragement, and like Elaine said, and her cousin, the love, and the sister that's driving, it's the love thing. We have to show more love, and we got to watch how we talk to people when they're grieving.
Yes.
When you encounter someone sitting on that front pew at a funeral home, or at a church, at a funeral, let's just say a funeral, you might have a lot of love for whoever passed away, but you can come across another family member They might not be crying tears of sadness. They might be crying tears of joy because you don't know the history that they had with this person. So when you say, oh, I understand how you feel. This person was good to me. And oh my God, I wish that, you know, that we were closer and I spent more time with you guys. Some people, sadly, are, you know, I don't want to say happy they're gone, but they might have been tortured or traumatized by their relationship with this person. So if you say, I understand, you don't understand. Even if you lose a mother and your friend loses their mother, it's different. Those are two different relationships.
Mhm.
They might not even like their mother that much. And you say, oh man, your mother she was something else. She taught me so much. Well, she didn't teach me anything. It's two different mothers with two different relationships. So when you say, you know, one of the best things I like to tell people when you encounter somebody and, you know, you view the remains and then you go by the family, you just shake their hand, give them a smile, give them a hug, and kind of keep it moving because you don't know the household relationships. So I don't want to go on and on, but I will add that we got to encourage our younger people and some of our more mature people. It's okay to cry. It's okay to talk about it. Most people that's grieving, you don't have to say a word sometimes. You can just sit there and if they see you, that means the world to them. Just to see you there. You don't have to say much to them because they're in a whole nother frame of mind. You might say, you need anything, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to keep you in prayer. Those are safe terms to use when people are grieving because I guarantee you when they're ready to talk, they'll talk. And I'm going to just leave one example of a client I had. She lost her only son. And the first time she came to see me, she didn't say a word. She had on a hat and dark shades. And I sat there with her maybe a good 20 minutes saying nothing. You know, she just told me her name. And then I said, well, my next client will be coming in and I hope that I'll see you again. And one of the first things I said is when you come back, hopefully you'll come back. We'll just be honest with each other. We'll start from there and I hope to see you. So guess what? When she came back again, I had on a hat and I had on the shades to match her. And that got laughter out of her. And I said, see that right there? That's where I have to help you get back to that laughter, learning to live with the grief, not get over it because we never get over it because the memories are ours. So she took her hat off and I took mine off. And then by the time she got ready to leave, she took the shades off. But I must say that I left her with a toolbox, is what I call it. A toolbox of different coping skills for her to move forward. But she stayed with me almost 2.5 years. And I usually don't do that long. And you can't put a time frame. When I say you can't put a time frame on it, I say I'm going to counsel people maybe 2 to 3 months. But I have yet to encounter a client where that's it. I mean, it's no time frame. So I'm gonna leave it like that.
Okay, no. So I have a question for you. Okay,
Sure.
so even, I have a question, and I want to say something as well, and that's true because is what you said about what you say to people. Because I talk to other parents that you know, children or whoever passed away, they do say, it bothers me when people say, I understand. They really hate when somebody says, I understand, or I understand what you're going through. They don't know what I'm going through. They ain't lose a child.
Right.
They really don't know. And so that do bother a lot of people. Also, kettles, for people that's on here. So because you said you teach them different kind of coping skills, and let me just say this too. So because I'm new at this victim advocate, well, in this position, because
Mhm.
y'all can see that I'm an advocate. So I do advocate, but I did call the prosecutor's office. I did reach out to certain people because I want to be correct. I don't want to, you know, I even asked for training because I don't want to say something that may tick someone off, right? Well, you know,
Mhm.
so I'm definitely trying to find the correct words to use and the correct. So with that, Kettles, there's a lot of people on here. And then I even met a young girl, and I hope she's on here. That what would you say to them that won't go to the grave? Like they say to me, like, because some people believe in going to the grave. I go to the grave.
Mhm.
They say, since my brother died, I want to go to the grave, but I can't. And they're afraid to they said they're afraid to go because they think it's going to open up some wounds. What would you tell somebody like that?
Well, the first thing is that is correct. You want the wounds to open because the air is going to heal them in the first place. So what I did with one of the clients is she hadn't been to her mom. It was several family members. So we'll start with the mom and two of her sisters, right? So I had to write a letter. I had to write a separation letter where she can talk to her mother and her two sisters on paper. And then I closed my eyes because she didn't want me looking at her in my office. And it made her comfortable because I was only one person and I was an audience to her and I was basically a stranger, but I needed you to get that outside and not hold it in. So she wrote a letter. That was part of her homework.
Okay.
Write a letter to your loved ones and what you would want to say to them. So she was terrified of going to the cemetery. She thought I was even tricking her one day and had her in the car, but I had to make a run. So I took her with me to make a run. Okay. So another time I said, listen, I'm not going to trick you because I see how petrified you were when you thought I was trying to take you. So I said, when you're ready, I'm going to ask you several times, but when you're ready, you say you're ready. So she had the letter and we actually went to the one out there on 1 and 9. I think it's Rosedale. So I drove her all the way out there and I said, I'm going to walk with you. We're going to find the site. We had went to the office, got the exact location, and we found her mother and her sisters. So I said, listen, I'm going to leave you here because I know you don't like to talk in front of people. So everything that you wrote in your letter and anything else that you want to share that you never got to say to them, you say it. And I'm going to go and sit in the truck. If you want me to stay, I'll stay. But I think the first time you need to have a private conversation. So that's what I did for that young lady. And she said it felt like a whole world lifted off of her shoulders, but she was very afraid to go out. She was angry. She was scared. It was like wrapped up into a ball of a whole lot of emotions, but she wanted to, but then she was afraid to.
Okay, so question.
Yeah.
So do you feel like in order to be able to move on, each person within their grief, within their own time, should face it head on? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it depends on what you're saying, face on, because this is a process. I actually start from when a client comes in, I start from the time they were born. It's like a chart that I do.
Yeah.
From the time that they were born and bring them up to the actual reason that brought them in to see me on that day. Because you have people that have a lot of trauma that they never talked about. And if the person passed away and you never got a chance to talk to them, we have to figure out together how to fix that where they can actually move on from their hurt, their pain, their shame, all of that to the next step.
Absolutely, I agree. I actually went through, Greg was in a group, my son was in a group over at University Hospital. So he was a part of the violence prevention trauma you think over at university if you've been a victim of a crime more than once. And so that day I realized because I used to think when they used to be like, oh, you traumatized, and I'm being honest, when people are like, oh, you traumatized, I looked at that as like you're saying I'm weak, and it just bothered me. And I wasn't. I kept saying I wasn't. And that day he got me to realize that I was, because he was like, Mom, you really are, because every time I leave out the door, you call for me. What you doing? What you doing? But if I actually look back, y'all, and I think about it, because I was going over my life one day, I think my first traumatic experience was when my brother was murdered. And why I say that it was traumatic, because, you know, we come to go, but I wasn't speaking to him. And I went down south and he wanted to speak to me that day, and he tried to talk to me, and I'm like, boy, I ain't speaking to you, get out of here. And that night he got killed. And so I had a shrine, and I took it really, really hard. And people was thinking like, oh, it's your guilt because you wasn't speaking to him. It really wasn't about the guilt. It was about that was my best friend, right? And I never got to say, if I would have talked to him that night, maybe he would have said, oh, I'm beefing or something. And so even though, and I'm gonna be honest, even though we talk forgiveness, sometimes you go through things with your family members, right? And you can forgive, or you could have just accepted and don't forgive, because you'll always remember. Because sometimes I still go through things where I'm not speaking to people, and then people try to remind me like, now you remember when you wasn't speaking to your brother and he got killed. And so I have to still deal with that, because some things I'm not. I believe that you teach people how to treat you, right? So I believe that if you keep letting them do this and that, they're gonna keep doing it. So sometimes you gotta separate it. But the forgiveness part, like you said, like we gotta forgive ourselves, right? I know for a fact, and even when it comes to my kids, I know for a fact my brother loved me. I know for a fact my brother wouldn't want me to be hurt. He wouldn't want me to have that shrine and not letting go. And so sometimes we have to look at that. You agree?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, that forgiveness part, like whatever you and your brother was going through prior to his demise, you have to say, you know, I forgive you.
Yeah.
I forgive you for leaving me like that. And I pray that you forgive me for not talking to you before your demise. I didn't get a chance, but I'm telling you now that I'm asking for your forgiveness. You know, you have to, it's, I'm not going to say it's too late because he's gone, but it's never too late to apologize, because if you are spiritual and you have a heart and it was love, because if you love somebody, it's going to be pain.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love these people, it's just they pass away. You be like, oh, okay, whatever. But when it's love, it's a lot of pain, and that's a tricky thing, because we love hard, and it almost turned people off a little bit because we're afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come, because as fast as we live to die, and everybody gonna go through it. So yeah, you have to. Hey, I forgive you, brother, for leaving me. I mean, I had to say that about my brother. It's like, hey, you 48, you died of a diabetic stroke in your sleep. You just laid down and that was it.
Yeah.
And you know, my sister-in-law, she was angry. Why did you leave me? Why did you leave me? You know, when you're spiritual, it's your turn. It's like everybody get a turn to sit on that front pew. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me say this. So in the chat, Shay said, yep, they don't understand, and we must be sensitive to the boundaries. He said, Miss Kettles is dropping jewels. Wow, the timeline. I was asked, how can Kettles, and I don't know if you want to recommend somebody at the Shiny or how you doing it on the end, but they want to know how could they speak to you over Zoom, or do you have to come into your office? But someone's asking that question because they really don't like coming outside. So do you do Zoom? Do you do Zoom?
Well, I actually was
sessions?
thinking, I was actually thinking and talking about that with a couple of people, because I mean, now the position I'm working in is like extremely busy, but I never wanted to get away from the grief. It becomes overwhelming, but it's needed, and I love it. I love doing it. And I was just recently saying I'm gonna have to try to set up another office in a day where I actually can get back to servicing people. But I will say I'm gonna be in touch with you, and maybe I could work something out um, with space, not at the Shawnee Rocket Center, but in another space, and
Okay.
then I'll give you all the information.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So with the counselors there at Shawnee, and so I know when they come into the office, that you may say what you need, and then the receptionist is supposed to say, okay, here, well, you go to Miss Lee or you go to that. Is that's a separate counseling, Kettles? Grief is
No,
separate than regular. If you could go in, could you speak to any counselor, or you have to do a grief counselor?
well, when you come into there, the thing was, like I had a lady, I have several, I had a couple of guys too, let me say it that way.
Mhm.
They come in, but before they could get to the grief, they might like, I think, you know, Ms. Cole said, they might have a either mental health or drug addiction, and the grief is all a part of that, because now it's a death thing. And I'm gonna be honest, people I run into and I talk to, they was like, you know, I'm gonna go back to getting high, because when I was high, I didn't have to worry about all this pain. And now my sister passed away. I should go back to getting high so I won't feel this. And that's
Mhm.
the sad, but that's their truth. So I say that to say this is that you may come to me for grief, but when you filling out the paperwork through the counseling, we used to all sit down and decide together which was priority, because they might need to go away to rehab, or they might need to sit down with the mental health counselor prior to starting their journey of grief counseling.
Okay, and we still do that now. We still do that now. And
Okay, that's
so,
great.
yeah, so we have Ms. Cole, she's for the substance. And so you're absolutely right. We still do that. And so, and I need y'all to keep this in mind too. So we have a young worker there too that came to me and asked me, what is the trauma, and talk to me about trauma. We never know, and I'm saying this to y'all, we never know who's watching us or who's paying attention to us. And so I want y'all always to be mindful of that. You know, she said, you know, I wanted somebody to talk to my brother, you know, it was murder or whatever. She said, but they wanted me to talk to, and they said a person, she said, but she kind of sturdy, and I didn't need that. She said, I watched everybody, and you sit there, you know, you do your work, you're not into nothing, and I just wanted to come for you. And me just doing my work is not even paying attention to that somebody is watching me, watching
Absolutely.
how I carry things. So y'all always got to keep that in mind, because we never know who's watching and may need to come talk to us. So while Kettle is still on here,
I wanted to say
for
something.
the one, yeah, I was about to say. So Greg, you want to speak? Go ahead. And after Greg, if it's
Yeah, I
anybody
wanted to
else
speak
that want to
about
speak, wait 1 second, Greg. After Greg, if it's anyone else that want to speak, you can raise your hand. If you on the phone, I want to say it's #6 or it's either *6. You can push that and then you will be able to unmute. Go ahead, Greg.
yeah, that's great. I just wanted to put my input on the when people that's grieving, when you come up to them and tell them that you understand. Because I used to be one of those people that used to feel like
You got an
nobody.
echo behind you, Greg.
You can hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
I said I used to be one of those people that felt like nobody really understood specifically what I was going through. But I think we misunderstand and misinterpret what they mean by understanding, because I feel like to understand is just to perceive the meaning of something. So I feel like when they saying it, you can understand what somebody pain they going through and not know exactly what they went through. Like I feel like if they say, oh, I know what you're going through, then that's different, because you don't really know what I'm going through. But
Right.
just to understand, because for example, my cousin got shot, I got shot. When he got shot, he said it burned. It didn't burn me. It just was like a throbbing pain. But we both could understand each other when we say after the shots, you be paranoid if you hear like so you kind of be paranoid after you get shot. So I can understand what he went through in that type of way. So just because you don't experience the same thing as somebody, you can still understand what they're going through. Like even if I had a bad relationship with my mother and somebody else had a good relationship with their mother, it's still the understanding of losing someone, period, that you can understand what they're actually going through. But I think when we're grieving and we're just angry, we just take it as, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. Don't say that to me. But I feel like we just take it the wrong way when people try to say they understand what we're going through.
So when they grieving, so you understand. So you saying when they're grieving, it's because when they say that, it's because they're already hurt. Like it's a lot of people that say that people got killed in their family. They don't really trust nobody. They don't trust nobody in their family. They don't know, because one person, and it's true. And it may have happened in my family where they say, oh yeah, but they was in the streets. Or, oh yeah, well, you got other kids. That, what? And so people come to me and they say, people said that, and we, as because we went through it, it's like, how dare you say that to us? Like, how dare you? So you think one son, if ever gets going, Greg can make up for that? Like, and I don't understand. And so, listen, when Eric died, I had went and got 5 family cards, and that I did that because, Eric's father's side had a big family. And so, I'm just like, it's not about me. So if they need a ride, let them get in there. And someone had the nerve, and God bless her soul, because she passed away, had the nerve to come to my office and was like, why did you have so many cars? I mean, why did you have this? And why did you do this? And I was answering, and my chief of staff at the time was like, when she left, it was like, why did you even answer her? But, I knew she didn't mean well, but people say things to you and don't even realize it. Like, and I think because we're already in a state, we take things kind of personal.
Yeah, one of the things is that we as a people, we don't know what to really say, especially if you didn't experience it and the person is hurting, and you want to be very careful in the language that you use. You want to comfort them and you want to say all the right things, but it's no blueprint for what you say to each individual, because everybody is different. That's why they say we grieve differently. So it's not that, not saying to the brother that, you don't understand. You have an understanding that it was a loss of life that you guys shared, but their inner feelings are totally different, because relationships are different. You can love on the same person, but it's a difference. It's not a separation, it's a difference. And you can feel it. It's like, oh my God, I feel that. I feel that. But you're not in it. If that makes sense to you, you're not in it. That's their journey. Your journey is a little different. It might be parallel, but it's different. I'm making sense.
Greg, you understand what she's saying?
G Money.
Yeah.
So G Money is my son, Sam. That's Greg. But go ahead. But go ahead, Greg. You understand?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Lisa James got her hand. Wait, you breaking up, Greg? You breaking up? Try it again. At least I see your hand. You're gonna be next. Greg, try talking now.
Yeah, my phone keep breaking up.
Go on the porch. Just stand up with your arm up or your leg. Put your hands out. Do something. Okay, so his phone get right. Lisa James, she would like to speak. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, I'm sorry I
Hey,
came.
Lisa.
Hi. So yeah, who was just speaking? I didn't know who it was.
That was Sam Kettles, and that was Greg, my son.
Oh yeah, okay. Hi, Miss Kettle. So Miss
Hey,
Kettle,
Miss.
absolutely agree with you. People like I just have a story that it caused problems in my relationship because my boyfriend was with me at the time that I got shot and paralyzed. So for him to say like you're not going through this by yourself, I always say to him like it's different. You know what I mean? I'm the one that's get up, you can walk away, you could do whatever. Then with me losing my son, when I'm going through it, it's like, oh, you're not the only one that miss him. What that like?
Yeah, that
is irritating because it's not the same. I carried him in my womb. I had him in my life for 27 years. You might have had him in your life for 5. It's a difference.
right.
And for people to say that, even I still go through it with my family members. Like they don't understand like what I'm going through. I'm shot. I've been paralyzed. I lost my son. Like it's a difference for y'all. And they say, oh, like that's my nephew, or I miss him too. I love him too. But it's different. and people don't know what to say, and they say these things and they're very hurtful to me, where I feel like I isolate myself from those people because I don't, the things that they say is I know they trying to understand, but they don't truly understand and they don't get it. And now
Right.
I realize like they will never ever get it. But it's still the things like, when I say something, you don't want to hear that. Oh, like if I say I miss my son, I don't want to hear everybody miss him. It's a difference, it's
Right. Right.
don't.
Because they'll say, dang, he been gone for like 5 years. It's like, you don't get it. We don't know what to say because they're not in that moment. They are not you. They will never be you. They didn't have the relationship that you had.
Right.
Because I listened, those that may know of my father, Cowboy, I'm gonna just use him. It's like, I love my father. I had my own relationship, but I have people that speak so highly of him, especially these coaches. And I started saying to them, oh, so that's where he was helping you when he should have been with his own kids helping us.
Oh, wow. That was
And
deep.
that was, and he got a street named after him, park named after him, but you was busy helping all these other kids. And I don't fault him for any of that, because whenever we need him, he was there. But it was like, wow, you touched all these people. But when I wanted you to go to the store with me, you was busy coaching.
Wow.
And then I found myself trying to follow in those shoes. I could never fit those shoes, but we try. So I say that again, to speak to Lisa, is, yeah, you'll have people that say, yeah, God, you saying that again? Yeah, I'm saying that. And that's the part you don't get. That was me. We shared a soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your other people might have shed blood, but I shared a soul with this person, and they'll never understand. And that's why people just sit there and they shake their head. And you real cool. You can stay cool, calm, and collective when people say, "Oh, they was a good person. I understand. I lost my mother too." And you sit right there, stoic, and let them move on, because some people might lash out. You didn't know my mother. She used to whoop me with an extension cord every day. And she used to torture me. You don't know that part.
That's true.
Because they never shared that part. Yeah. Listen, don't get me started, because these are the kind of things. I had a woman whose boyfriend put the baby in the oven and cooked them.
Damn.
How am I supposed to start talking about that when she came to see me?
Yeah.
I had to start from the time she was born,
yeah,
until she walked through that door. But I will say that, she doing better, but she went through a whole journey of stuff. So when people say, I understand, if you met this woman when she was going through the beginning of it, you'll be afraid of what was going to come if you said you understood. Yeah. So I'm standing here sweating, talking about it. I'm going to let Elaine take back over so we can move on.
Okay, wait. So I have Teresa coming in, and that was perfect. But wait, so Shay said, Greg, look forward to meeting you one day. Stay strong, King. Is there someone else? So Teresa, and the ones that just joined, we started off talking about grief, healing, how to heal from it, or since we've been doing this Zoom, how has it helped you to heal? And people have been telling their stories. We talked about the youth and how we need to come together and love on them, because some of them are misunderstood and they're missing some things. And so if you would like to share, if it's someone on here else that will jump in and like to share, I'm just trying to go along on the chat as we go through. People say stuff on the chat, and I don't know if y'all can all check it. Some things be directly to me. Is there anyone that would like to talk? Okay. Speaking of, and I want to say this too, dealing with grief, y'all, as the mother, sometimes we want to, and I'm talking from experience too, we want to maybe correct some things. Cause like one time somebody in City Hall, somebody came to me and said, yeah, they were saying that your good son is the one that died, but they was looking for the other one. And I wanted to, part of me was like, oh my God, I want to get on Facebook and I want to say to them, like, both of my sons was good, but this one just wouldn't let nobody, and then somebody stopped me, like, you don't gotta explain that to them. And so, and even if you go deeper, that it was said that somebody said in my family, like, because I didn't break down and I didn't really fall apart at the funeral, right? And I to this day, I'm gonna tell y'all that God carried me, right? When they say the footprints, and why wasn't you beside me? And they was angry with God. And they said that you wasn't there for me because I didn't see your footprints. He said, I carried you. That is true. So I got carried that day with my son, but it was said that they was like, oh, why she ain't crying? And they was like, because her favorite son is still alive. And so they don't understand that we still have emotions. We still, and even as going through the grief, you want to say, what? How dare you say that? But we got to learn that people want to say whatever they want. And it ain't going to pay our bills. It ain't going, but I had to get to that point. And I'm saying that to say that sometimes we got to get thicker skin because they don't understand. If someone can say to you, well, he was in the street. Now, and that's just that, like, even with me, if Eric, he wasn't in the street. And even if Greg is not in the street, they're not gang members, but me, and to each his own. I would never be that one like, oh God, no, because we know that they do be in the street. But they would say to us like, or say to me like, yeah, she doing all that screaming, but her son was in the street. That doesn't take from your son. And as mothers, and I want all the mothers to know, there's no plan book. There's no words to say, this is how you got to raise your child. We do the best we can. And so all we could do is the best we can. Is no platform or no roadmap to do this. And so long as you know you did the best that you can do, don't let nobody knock you down. The words is going to help, but then you got to look at them like, they don't even know me. Because if they knew me, they wouldn't have said that to me. Teresa. Oh, I thought she had her hand up. Teresa, did you have your hand up to talk? You muted. Can't hear you.
I just was saying hello to everyone.
Hey.
Peace and blessings from me to y'all. I pray that everyone is having an amazing Sunday. And whatever you do, allow yourself to be genuine.
You muted yourself. You mute.
Yeah.
You haven't unmuted yourself. So Teresa, let me ask you a question. And if you feel like I'm putting you on the spot, you could be like, Elaine, you put me on the spot. But Miss Teresa, she has, what is it? Healing. Tell me the name of your organization.
Let's Heal Together.
Let's Heal Together. So she invited me to her event to come and be a part of her event. She told me her story. And I was like, oh my God, even on here, y'all, sometimes we go through some things and you be like, what? Because when you hear somebody else's story, how dare I complain about anything? And when I heard her story, I was so moved, like, I will really want you to come on here and just share. And listen, and I don't mean to say share for us to feel sorry for her. I want her to share so we can see the strength, right? Because I believe that we're not built to break. And if she wants to share, you will hear what I'm talking about. So could you share your story?
So I'm just going to go on a little rewind of 6 years old, being happy, being a child, starting school, living in the project, and being my mother's oldest child until she met a young man who she would wind up allowing to be her soulmate until he left this earth. And my mother was a antidepressant person. Like, her emotions was humbly quiet because of her surrounding and the things that she would have to endure in a family that was separated. Now, when I say who I am, My mother and my father created me and some of my siblings, and my mother and father are cousins. So everybody, yes, my mother and father are cousins. So I wasn't wanted or loved from birth. I was hated because of the decision that my mother and father made to have me and my siblings. This young man used to climb on top of me at 6 years of age, would put his genitals in between my thighs. He knew not to penetrate me because the evidence would have been visually able to be seen. He would put it between my thighs. He would make me have all kind of sexual intercourses with him at 6 years of age and threatened to kill my mother. So I didn't say nothing, but tried to be the best person that gave head, that sat up there and let a grown man strip me of being a child. I never knew what it was to be a child. And the fact that he put the fear of God into me, he used to beat on my mother physically in front of me. So I used to have to help her put on makeup and cover the black eyes before my other siblings got up to go to school. So I did the best that I know how. And that's what embedded in me right now. Just to be strong, let life keep on beating on me, and just believe that there is a higher God, and I am not the victim of the circumstances. I'm a victory of my circumstance. Like I had the victory because of God. God allowed me to see this young man go through trials and tribulations before he transitioned. But it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him that used me as a sex object. It was his father, rest in peace. It was his brother, rest in peace. It was my aunt, baby father, rest in peace. These men was passing me around like I was an hors d'oeuvre as early as 6 years old. And when I became a teenager, it wasn't no reason for me to want to celebrate because the people that was around me, that my mother and aunt and them was so heavily in love with, was sexually abusing me, and I had to go to school. I had to get in the kitchen to help my mother prepare dinner for this man. I had to be at every cookout, like just pushing through depression. And that's why even to today, I stand.
You muted.
You feel uncomfortable, give his brother, sister, mother, father. If they touch you, tell someone. And if you can't be comfortable enough in your family, because sometimes some children have told family members, and because of their family and the secret and the bond that they want to continue to have, the child is left. Like I told the strongest person in my family, and they told me, shh, don't tell nobody else. So I never did. I never told nobody else because they thought it was better to hide that brother or sister of theirs. So they never told or spoke on it. They never protected me. The whole congregation was sitting around talking about how grown I was and fresh. But I didn't become that overnight. But the congregation, neither one of the people that was sitting in the pulpit, none of them ever asked me what was wrong. Was I okay? Until this day, that's why I be leery of Christians, because that's the church that I was in that was beating me from head to toe with the put her another sweater on, cover this up, cover that up. As you see, I always been big breasted. You know, it's only so much you can cover up. But nevertheless, no man I didn't deserve for nobody to put their hands on me or put their private parts inside of me. Never. But nevertheless, I held my head up high and I did what I thought at the time was protecting my siblings so he wouldn't do it to them. So, everything else in the family is held at a high level. They'll talk about everything in their mama, but nobody won't talk about the children that turned gay due to the family touching them. Nobody talks about that. But yes, I'm thankful for you, to allow me to use your platform and talk about this, because still to today, family members are touching family members and touching these children, and nobody want to discuss it or talk about it. So the children are walking around in so much pain and identity crisis because the adults that surround them made them, you better not say nothing. Shut your mouth. They ain't do this. They ain't touch you like that. I'm telling you, they did. Yes, they did touch me like that. Your brother, your son, your nephew touched me. But they don't want to, they ain't ready for that.
So let me say this. So Miss Kettle, I don't know if you know her, but she was the grief counselor at Shawnee. And she talked about that you have to go back to the beginning, and that's where you went. But when I met you, now go fast forward to the losses that you have endured.
Okay. Hello, young lady. Thank you for allowing me to share my platform once again with all you ladies.
And there's some men up here too.
Oh, and kings. Peace and blessings to y'all too.
Yes.
My first child, well, let me start back before that. My nephews was murdered in Providence, Rhode Island. And I went with their mother. I went down there with their mother to help the first one that was killed in September. He was killed in a drive-by. He was on a basketball court with a number of friends, and a car drove up and boom, 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 boom. He was the only one that was murdered at that time on the playground. So I went down there with her to help her. And it just was something that I prayed to God that I never wanted to do myself. And I was asking him to give her strength. Move forward to November of 2003, 2002, November. Her second child was interacting with a young lady on MySpace, and he went to go meet her, and her brother and cousin, he had a medallion and a chain, and they wanted to rob him for it, and they wound up shooting him and killing him. That was November of 2002. All right, move forward as I'm praying to God for me to never be able to encounter nothing like that. March of 2003, my brother-in-law was shot in the head up here on Park Avenue. 2003, April, my son fell 17 flights in the Academy of Spies to his death, 2 years old. He was 2 years old. He fell 17 flights. He hit an air conditioner and it popped his skull, and he passed away. 2003, 7 months later, November, Thanksgiving, my mom, we was going to celebrate life with her, and thanking God because God was able to allow me to forgive, because my mother was babysitting my son. He was in her care when he fell out the window. So I had to do a lot of talking to God to forgive me, to be able to forgive my mother for, my son no longer being on this earth. However, 3 months later, he did just that. I called my mom and I told her how I felt and the hurt and pain that me and my children encountered by my son no longer being on this earth. We started to communicate and get back online. And November, Thanksgiving Day, her lover at the time murdered her, put his hands around her neck and strangled her to death. So as we trying to find her on Thanksgiving, she was in her house dead. That's Thanksgiving Day. 7 months later, from my son falling out the window, Thanksgiving Day, he killed his Thanksgiving Eve. That was in November. Moving forward to 2013, like we had some deaths, uncles and aunts and cousins along the way, but 2013, my husband would also take his last breath on August the 13th. And Then as I tried to get my children to understand and agree process one more time, 2015, my second child took her last breath due to cancer, rhizostoma. It's a pediatric cancer. She took her last breath. Grieving, we lost a couple of more uncles, cousins, and family members. Get to 2020, my last son, we talking on the phone all night. He made his first pot of lima bean with a lot of smoked meat, and we hung up about 1:30, quarter to 2. 9:15 in the morning, I get a call from his spouse at the time. He's dead, mommy, he's dead. Who dead? Like, I'm always there for the community to support any and everybody, whatever their endeavor is or whatever they going through, I got her. And her mascara and everything was just running. And I was like, who dead, mommy? She was like, your son. Oh my God, I dropped the phone and just started screaming and praising God at the same time, because I know whatever I was going through and whatever I was about to go through, I needed God. I needed God.
Yeah.
And yes, that has taken me for a boom, because my son was my go-to when his father died, his siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncle. My son will give you happiness. So, God took my joy from me, and he took my son.
So, Teresa, so how is it that you're still able to, because you got Let's Heal together, how is it that you still able with losing your children, a baby? How are you able to still help?
God. First of all, I give him the highest praises, because without him, suicide was a thought during every one of these deaths. Why do I belong here? Why did you take them? Why did you not take me? Is it possible that I can attempt to do so? And will you allow me to commit suicide? Because, people contemplate and think about it and attempt it, but God don't let you have to be successful at it. So I'm asking him all these questions and telling him I want to die. I don't want to be here. But he telling me, my child, everyone in this world have an assignment that I send them on. Your assignment is not over. As much as pain you have endured on this earth, I still need you to fulfill your assignment. So my assignment, when I was going through it with my daughter, I was laying on the couch looking at her picture, and she was just like mine. I said, I don't want to go back to work. For the first time, I wanted to mourn. I didn't want to keep on helping everybody else get over her. I wanted to understand what my purpose was and why God kept taking my children and my loved ones, period. And it even had me in my mind, like, what did I do to deserve this? On top of that, this is the kicker. What did I do to deserve this? And why did my family turn their back on me at the most critical time? Like, I had a couple here and there, but a lot of my family really didn't call me. They didn't come by and say, dude, go take a walk. I said, when they put her in hospice, and me and my children literally went from not knowing how to change a mess bag to putting the medicine in her IV. We didn't know none of that, but they gave us one course and then they sent her home. We didn't know how to do it, but we learned how to do it. And thank God for technology, because we started Googling and trying to find out how to make her as comfortable as possible doing this transaction. And we didn't even know that we literally needed help for ourselves. Our mental was beaten, took a beat down. But the love that I have for my kids, being a black sheep of my family, I uphold them to let them know they was greater than anything that anybody ever said against us. We were better. We were doomed for God greatness. God have us covered. God, the possessions, the materialistic stuff that we have means nothing when it comes to God love for us. So I'm a believer in God, even though all these things is happening to me. I still felt that, God was worthy of the praise, and that I wanted him to be able to continue
Yeah, you
to,
gonna walk away.
I wanted him to continue to let those that was around me know that God is good, and look to God for all your problems, all your trials and tribulation. And what I did do is, because I live in a complex, the people at my complex that see me going through it every day, they would send over a pot of this, or they would try to help us get through it as best they could without the worry of the world on our shoulder. And so I just kept talking to God, and my baby came to me and said, look, my love, you like helping people, mommy. You don't got to go back to work. Do an event. So I did my event. I asked for the event. I said, let me take this to God. I said, she right. I love helping people. I went and talked to God about the name of the event. I went and talked to God about the finances to help me get the location for the event. I went to talk to God for the money to be able to purchase everything. I gave away so much at my Let's Heal Together event. Like, people really thought it was just about the gift, but I had to let them understand, no, it was what I never received from my loved ones. People that said they love me, they never gave to me. They talked about me so bad until I'm like, why you put me in this family? But then he said, know what? It's a lot of you in this family. These women that's around you, they don't know how to love you because they didn't have that love. So they doing the best that they know how. Like, my grandmother had 16 or 19 kids. So it's hard to show kids love 16 or 19, I'm not sure. But it's hard to show 16 kids individually love. Me and my kids, we laid in the bed together. We read books. We watched TV. I always try to let my kids know I love you without the materialistic things of life. But they had, and that's why I talk to my daughters now, and I tell them, we had a hard not life, but we had a good life. Me raising 10 children in the city of Newark was not easy at all. But if you ask each and every one of my nephews, I wasn't missing a birthday for them. I'm the one with the 10 kids. And each and every one of my nieces and nephews will tell you, I tried to make Christmas and birthdays as special as possible until I just lost my son. And I say, you know what? I on my birthday come around, when my birthday come around, my birthday is 2 days behind Christmas. And I just don't get it. I get promises. Oh, Christmas just left. It was rough for me. I'm gonna give it to you in income tax time. I never get too much for my birthday. So
And you know
I
what,
come to
Teresa?
God.
You know what? And we was talking about that earlier, where sometimes we gotta love ourselves. We gotta give ourselves that love, because and a lot of people ain't us. See how you will give it to them and you will make sure they have it, but when they come to us, oh, they think we don't need, or they think you the strong one. And so
Right.
that's why we gotta love on ourselves. Get our nails
Sure.
done, get our
That's
hair
right.
done. And so I
that's
want
why
to
I
say
had.
this too. Is your
Go ahead,
daughter
say that
Dominique
again.
around you?
Say
Dominique
that
around
again,
you?
love. Oh
Is your
no,
daughter?
she just left. Yeah.
Okay, so like I have a daughter up here, Anaya, and my son, Greg, he's up here too. And
Hello, Inaya and Greg.
and so talking
Hello.
to Dominique, which is your daughter, she say a lot like them, like Dondre, you unmuted, like she's going through a depression, like she won't go to the grave. And my son and daughter was saying they don't want to do counseling, and they don't understand that this is a form of counseling. Sometimes,
Right.
even with this, y'all, even a support group, sometimes, like I've never been to counseling because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm okay. My daughter, like your daughter said to me, I want you to meet my mother. She said, because she's strong like you. And then it's funny that I met you downtown, I didn't even know it was you. And then I'm at the event, and I come to the event and she show up, and I'm like, this your mother? And so God had us meet that way. But I'm asking you that even with your children, how do you help them? Because we strong in our own way, but they like hurting right in front of us.
So you didn't get one of the packets. Next time, maybe I might come over to the center and bring you one. I have things that I do. I sit down and I talk to my children and my grandchildren, and I made a packet out of the response that they gave me. Like I would sit down after we eat dinner, and I would say, "When was the last time? What do you remember about Uncle Beast?" That's what they call him, Uncle Beast, Uncle Mike. What was the last encounter you had with him? How do you remember him? What did you do with him the last time you was with him? And like all of them, like they started writing books of stuff that they do remember, but they did forget. They blocked out due to depression. I think they blocked out a lot of stuff also.
Mhm.
So I made packets, and then we have a little block where though we color in the last joke that he told. We have something in the block. It say joke, it say laughter, it say crying, it say pain, it say survival. Like it's different methods, and I tell them color the one that you would like to talk to me about, or color the one that you would want. And then I make little notes on the table. I put little notes like read a book, one-on-one, and one-on-one meaning you don't want to. I do it in the circle. I do. It's called pick up the mic, and they can talk about anything they choose to want to while they have the mic. And if they choose to want to pick out one certain person, they go get a mic to that person when they finish expressing themselves because they want a response to the pain that or the laughter that they just shared.
And
So
that's good because we see that means that they gotta, and that's what we was talking about too. You gotta talk about it. You got
right,
and you gotta let if you agree that it's good to cry. So,
yes,
crying cleanses your soul. And
right,
so there's
yes,
no certain way to grieve if you want to cry, if you want, because I believe in sharing his memories, going on my son's page,
right,
everybody loves you. And I do that because I'm not gonna let him die in vain. I'm not,
right,
he's murdered. And
right.
so the difference is the world will know about him.
That's
And
that's right.
so is there anyone up here that has a question for Teresa or would like to give her some words of encouragement? Feel free to speak to Teresa.
I like to say that I really caught a couple of points that Miss Teresa made. One of them being that it was proven through her conversation. She took us all the way back, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
But what I didn't hear, I can't see you, Miss Teresa. I want to see your face when what I'm saying is when it made me lose that thought.
But you didn't hear. You didn't hear her say
Yeah,
something.
what I didn't hear you say, what I was listening for was every time you had a loss, I was waiting to hear when you got some counseling. And that's one of the things that we don't do. We endure the loss, we endure the pain, we cry, we're sad, and then we call ourselves getting a little better. We learn to move to the next day, and then you had another loss. And I'm waiting again to see if you got counseling, because loss is loss. You can lose your house keys and you be upset. That's a loss. I lost my dog. I lost my relationship. I lost my virginity. And I'm listening to all of your losses, and I didn't hear any counseling because for generations it was taboo. But fast forward, you talk about your grandkids, you talk about this little thing that you do. I think that's great. I was like, there it is. The little circle you do with passing the mic. That's awesome. I think that's something Elaine probably could use
And
at
it
the
works.
center,
Mhm.
because it don't have to be the grief or the sexual assault. It could be just the conversation of opening up and building trust. Because if you don't have
That's right.
trust, they're not going to talk to you
Yeah.
because they think you're going to repeat whatever they
Right,
say. And it's like,
exactly.
no, I know, like Elaine said earlier, they see people, they heard them talking. I might know that person. I'm not going to share with any of these people.
Right.
I'm going to walk out the door.
True.
So I think, Elaine, that piece that Miss Teresa said at the end with that circle thing, that's something that you might want to do with your coworkers.
Yes,
And
yes.
let them write one negative and one positive
Right.
about themselves.
Yes.
So you can start that dialogue with opening
Right.
up.
Yes.
Because I was there the other day and I'm listening to this and I'm like, come on, Elaine got some stuff that she can bring to this table. Because all of that was something. But that's another thing. But I really want to say thank you, Miss Teresa. I learned a little piece that I might want to try with the younger generation, because
And feel
if
free
they
to
don't
call me
trust
if
you,
you need help.
they ain't gonna
If
say
you
nothing.
need help, feel free to contact me.
Okay, I will. I
Yes.
get the
Thank you,
information
Kelly.
from Elaine.
It's definitely time where, it takes the village to raise the children. We got to come out. And also, the E-man and the pastor, the apostle, they got to come out their comfort zone. Right now, they don't need to be behind the bricks. They need to be vigilant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it someone else that would like to say something to Miss Teresa? Thank her for sharing words.
Thank you, guys.
No, Teresa, I'm asking them to say something to you.
Okay.
Fatima,
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Lisa.
I'm trying to enlighten some of them burdens that you're carrying around, that you're going into a new week. Let it go. Let it go. Let's release it. Every untold secret don't have to be something that's embedded in you until death do us part. And that's what we be holding on to. That thing called pride. It can't help us pay bills. It help us stay up all night. Like, let's release it. I also do a thing with the little children inside my complex. I allow them to put whatever
Hello?
they mean.
1 second, Terry, 1 second.
Oh, because I've been
She's on
trying
the
to call.
phone. I know, you wait just
Oh,
1 second.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Teresa.
That I do with the children of my complex is I give all of them some paper. We just did arts and craft the other day, and I let them go ahead and say what their fear is of going back to school next week.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them wrote different things, and a lot of them felt comfortable in expressing it to me personally. So what I did is I went and bought logs. I went to ShopRite and got one of the burning logs, and I went a lot of the stick, and I put I told all of them we couldn't burn the marshmallows until we released the pain that was inside of us and the fear of going back to school. So we all wrote what we wrote, and we threw it inside the fire, and then we all took our sticks, and one by one I said, together we stand united. And I took told everybody to take their stick, and we all put the stick, our marshmallow, into the fire. And I told them to burn the marshmallows is the burning away of the pain and the fear that they had. And the fire on the marshmallows was the new beginning, because I love a good burnt marshmallow. And the smiles around the room of the faces of the children made my heart melt like butter.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Terry's on the phone. Go ahead, Terry. You have something to say?
Yeah, I was trying to reach her. Is her name Teresa? I
Yes,
want to salute you and applaud you for you just coming forth and you talking about, but as you was telling your testimony, I was thinking about Job, how Job went through all that he went through, and he didn't have no counselors that he didn't went through. He went to God. And as you was talking, I said, wow, here's a sister that, you don't hear too much because everybody want to go to a social worker, everybody go to a psychiatrist. Some people like myself, I don't feel free talking to a psychiatrist. I just don't. But now I'm learning to do. But, at first I didn't. But I'm hearing your story, and I said, wow, she was awesome. Like how Job went through everything. He lost everything. You see how you lost most of all your family? Job did the same thing. And God blessed him double for his trouble. And I'm listening to you, and I'm saying, you know, it's awesome how you sounded so strong, and you're not emotional about it. I guess, it took time. It took prayer. I understand that because it takes prayer to do a lot of things, to keep us strong. But I just salute you, my sister, and I applaud you because what you've been through, and you still got your sound of mind. Yes, and you talked about God. I didn't hear you talk about the social worker. Some people can't talk to social workers. Some people can. But for you to come forth and you said it proudly, with no hesitation. Let me know that God was with you, sister, because you've been through some stuff. I've been through some stuff too. But to hear that you've been going through, and you still going through it, and you here to teach us how to walk by faith, that's a fourth way. You know what I'm saying? You didn't go to no counselor. You didn't go to a psychiatrist. You went to a heavenly God. And some people don't believe in the God, but you did. And you showing me. So I thank God for everybody that's, coming forth. And the other one that was talking is more like a counselor. I salute you too, sweetheart. Because you need it. Some people need you. Everybody that's on, even my baby sister Elaine, you need it. All is a part of God's plan. And it takes for you to come forth and say, I will, I can. I did, and I'm going to show what God has done for me. So I'm just overwhelmed with tears of joy. I'm not crying because I'm just strong today. But to hear what you've been, because I've been through some stuff, and to hear what you've been going through, and you sounding strong, my sister. I ain't been through nothing. I haven't been in nothing compared to what you have been through. But everybody's story is different. Right? I heard somebody say, what you go through is for you. It's for you to handle. What I go through is for me to make and mold me to who God has called me to be. You know what I'm saying? We all go through, like my sister Elaine, she went through trauma with two of her sons. One got killed, one got shot up. And she's stronger than ever. Right. You know what I'm saying? Everything that happened makes us to build us to make us strong. We got to be strong.
That's right.
That's it. And I salute you. I thank you. Thank you, sister.
I appreciate you as well. But I want all of us to understand. And once again, I want to say thank you to Elaine. I'm live, sir. So what I want to say is, we're living in a time right now where it definitely takes the village to raise a family. We need the village to continue to uplift these children. These children are going back to school right now, and there has not been no deactivation to the level of stress that they had, not only in the house, but 2 years they've been confined to home. It transitioned overnight for them. They had to learn how to do the computer. Some parents didn't know how. All that was trauma.
Yes.
But the Caucasian people are not gonna name it as so. Like I think that we all have to learn little acts of kindness that we can do to deactivate the stress as the children return back to school, because we don't know how to digest grief ourselves. I apologize. I'm trying to get the right route.
We understand.
But we don't know how to deactivate the grief within ourselves. So how can we expect the children to go back to school and be at an all-time high rate when they returning, they're leaving stress, and the only stress relief that they have is electronic. In my house on Sunday, when we walk in the house, everybody have to put them cell phones in the bucket. And do they like it? No. Hell, sometimes I don't like it. But we got to do what we got to do. If we want the change to be a part of their future, we got to start with it now.
And you know what, too, Teresa, even, and I was talking to Mikey. We was talking yesterday, and she was saying, Elaine, I want you to, because I was telling her, I asked the mayor, what is your vision? Like, what did you, when you wanted me to come here, what did you vision for me to do? And he said, I
Right.
want you to do what you've been doing. Go into the schools, do your healing circles, do what you do. And so me and my son, we do go into the schools, but I reached out to Avon, I reached out to Weekway because, and my thing is this, bullying, even I want to say last month, or even it might have been 2 months ago, a young lady killed herself. She hung herself. She was pregnant, right?
Oh.
And children are hanging themselves from bullying, right? And so I want to go into the school, and we do go into the school, and we talk to them. And at one time at university, I asked them, if somebody in the immediate family been murdered, please stand. They stood. I'm asking if you depressed, stand up. If you being bullied, stand up. If you are a bullier, and one person stood up and said, you know what, I'm gonna be honest, I bully and I'm a victim of bullying, right? And about time we was finished, mostly everybody was standing. But I did that because I wanted the staff to see that these children are hurting, even when it comes down to my granddaughter. And that's why I started it with talking to the principals, because she was telling me, she called me one day and we was talking about one of her friends whose mom died. And she was saying, you want to hear what we was writing about? So she's reading me what her and the young lady is saying back and forth. And in it, we talked about how they go, she was in charter, how they want them to come take the state test, how they want them to focus on this. And she's saying, how can I focus on that when my father just died? And all I'm thinking about is my father, the little girl mother. Like at the end of the day, and I said that to the principals, they can't focus on that. We do the rest in peace shirts. We let them go to school. That like it's normal. That's not normal. And so I'm starting, and I spoke to the principal for Weekway, and he's on board with it. And some other, and I talked to Teresa. She could come into the school as well, because they need to know that it starts there. It starts with the young ones, and then even with helping the families. And so that's definitely a good thing. It's definitely good to do a little circle. I talk to my grandchildren all the time too, and to be real, like my little ones are like angry. And Greg said it best. My brother was murdered, right? I can't hear you, Teresa. Are you talking to me, Teresa? You muted. My brother was murdered when I was little, and my son said something that
I apologize.
my son said something to me that really got really let me see what was going on. He said he didn't know my brother coming up. He just seen that his mother was crying, his sisters was crying. I had a little shrine, and it made me angry as a child. And even when my son got killed, my young grandson was like, when I grow up, I want to get the person. And so it's just a recycle. It just keep going and going. And sometimes we got to stop that too. Is it someone else that has something to say to Teresa or in general? Elois, would you I see that you on. Is it something that you would like to say?
Oh, yes. Me?
I was asking Elois, but wait a minute. I was asking, did they have anything to say to you or ask a question? Go ahead.
Me or her?
Yes, Elois.
Oh, hi. Good evening, everybody. I came in a little late, so I missed the bulk of everything, but I did catch my sister Teresa on some of the last half of what you were saying, and I'm so sorry I missed it because I had another engagement. But you said some really interesting things, and the other lady who spoke from the phone, I caught a little bit of what she said. And one thing I'm a retired mental health clinician, and I had practiced mental health counseling for like 25 years. And so I'm retired now, but I still do a lot of volunteering. I give back because I understand that it wasn't a job for me. It was a purpose.
Mm.
It is my purpose, especially to help my people. And I don't mean to come off as racist, but we need help. No other race has been destroyed as worse as Black people. So my stance is more so for my people. I'm not going to turn down helping anybody. I do life coaching now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar, but it's not the same. And somebody said, you sort of talked about going through different paths, religion, therapy, or whatever. And so, one thing that I understand from my experience as a counselor, from my experience as a person who endured severe trauma for most of my life, that everybody have a purpose. Everybody has a path, a journey to their own spiritual growth. And one thing I do, we kind of get things a little, I'm going to say twisted, because if you don't really fully understand something, we tend to misinterpret things, because like therapy came from biblical terms. It came from religion. And certain words are used so that the people who do not believe in religion or God, certain words are used to not deter them or to throw them away. So basically, the therapeutic process can be through, like my sister Teresa said, through games. That's what we do. Art therapy. Anything could be therapeutic.
Right.
Anything that can help you as an individual, because we all don't see through the same lenses.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to take different paths, whether it be Islam, whether it be Christianity, whether it be Buddhism, whether it be just African spirituality, whether it be just therapy. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get the help that we need. Different strokes for different folks. And I want to say, culturally, as African-American people, we tend to shy away from therapy because various reasons, a stigma of you're crazy. It's not cool for the young people because people are going to, judge you and, call you crazy, label you. Pride, ego, shame, guilt. A lot of things deter us away from that. And I could tell you, I was really one crazy son of a so-and-so coming up until I actually was forced into therapy. I was forced because I was suicidal and homicidal. So I was forced into it. And for me being forced into it, I healed. And then that's where I found my calling. And my purpose in life was that I know everything that I went to was not in vain. Everything I went through was not in vain. I know today that it was for me to be able to identify, empathize, and sympathize with people who has gone through the same thing or is going through the same thing. And I've been through a lot. I don't really talk about it a whole lot anymore like I used to, but I'm teaching people and showing people how to heal through their own lens, not through mine.
Yes.
Through their own lens. And that's one of the reasons why I utilize religion. I have studied various religions. And I know today I didn't understand that because people were saying, oh, you're lost, you're crazy, you practice Islam, you practice Buddhism, you do this. Today, if I had not did all those religions, I would not be able to help the people that I've helped over the years, because I wouldn't be able to identify if you come in here talking about Buddhism and all this stuff. I wouldn't be able to identify. And so I wouldn't be able to help you effectively. Not saying that I can't help you, but it wouldn't be as effective if I didn't understand your lingo, understand your belief system. You got to understand and know a little bit about people before you can actually help them. Because if you're just on whatever it is that you've learned or whatever it is you believe in, not saying that you can't help people, but you can help people to a greater, more in-depth level when you understand the world and the people in it. So God works through people. It ain't nothing falling out the sky. We haven't seen or witnessed nothing that fell out the sky that said, oh yeah, that was a miracle. No, God works through people. God put people on this earth to help each other. So sometimes when you shun something away, it could be the very thing that God put here to help you. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say, think about it. When somebody step into your life that don't share the same belief system you share, don't wear the same clothes, the same style, come from a different country or whatever, don't shun them. Wait to see because let me tell you something. The man on the corner, the bum eating out the garbage can teach you something. There's a lesson and a blessing in everything. And the man standing on the corner eating out the garbage can is teaching you there's a better way in life. You don't have to go that route. So there's a lesson in everything. So I just want to say, don't shun. Don't shun, especially if you don't know and understand. Don't shun. Just listen to see if there's something that person has to offer you, or you may be able to offer them something. God might have put them there for you to help them instead of them to help you. It could flip easily. Seen it done so many times. So, there's so many different ways to the approach of helping people. There's a lot of different paths. And the first thing, I don't like to say my way or hit the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that voice because my mother was that voice. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't get any help, because I don't want to listen to that Muslim. I don't want to listen to that preacher, that this, that. And I wasn't even getting help from nobody because I didn't want to hear nothing, because I was in my own damn head.
Mm-hmm. So you had to move out your own way, right?
Absolutely. So I just want to just say, listen, hey, be open. I'm not saying be an open book and just take in anything and everything, but most of us have enough common sense to know right from wrong. And you know what resonates with your spirit. When you hear something good and your stomach just, you just feel happy inside, that's resonating with you. And maybe that's the road you should take, or the person that you need to take information from. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm finished.
Thank you for speaking, my cousin. I want to thank everybody, and if it's somebody that still want to speak, they can. But I just want to thank everybody that comes on, whether it's regularly every because we do it 2 times a month, the second and the fourth Sunday. Again, I always say, if it's someone on here that touched you or you want to reach out to, call me and say, or text me. Kettles, I'm gonna get together with you because somebody did want to talk to you. And so you can always feel free to inbox me, call me, text me and say, hey, Elois really touched me, or Kettles really touched me, or Teresa, and then I'll put you a connection. As a village, that's what we do. We here to help each other. Again, I'm working at Shiny Baraka Center, where there are some social workers there. There are a LGBTQ organization there for the ones that's because their terms is in their community. So if they're in that community and you want to come, again, you may come, because I have some that come near and they don't want to go through them. They want to come talk to me or go talk to. So it's to whoever you feel comfortable with. Again, like Kettle said, we do sit down, we talk to you, we try to you got to get back to the beginning. You got to get back to that trauma. And so that's what we here. We here as a village. And so I want to thank each and everyone on here that comes on here that find it not robbery to be a part of this village. I believe that we need this village. We pass the neighborhood or the community, then we don't want that. I mean, we want that village where if you was hungry, we fed you. If you needed somebody to watch you, we watched your kids. That's what this village is about. I've never heard nobody get off and say, oh my God, they full into or told the stories. Like Bob said, she did share some of the events so people could get on. But I believe that everybody is here for, because that's what it was supposed to be. And so before we close out, is there someone that's here, the new people? I usually go like this. I usually say, Terry, if you want to speak, she spoke. Basima, and I go along. Basima, do you have something to say? If she don't want to, then that's fine. Kettles, Teresa, we closing out. Tawana, for the ones that didn't speak. Naya, Shanice, Tiana. And then there's some people on the phone. If you on the phone, you can push *6, or I think it's #6. I see Christina up here. If Christina, you want to unmute and you want to say something, you can. Pumpkin, if you want to unmute and say something, you can. The floor is open.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you
for allowing us to have this platform. I know for years, I never thought that my voice mattered outside of telling the people that said that they love me what was happening to me, and for it to been shut down so quick. I buried my voice for over 4 decades, but now that I found it, I want to enlighten the burden on so many people that was sexually abused as a youngin. I want you to know that you are not the victim. I mean, you are not the perpetrator, and that God continue to keep you covered. And sometimes we feel like, why God let this happen to me? And people say, My thing is, why not? I'm not gonna blame everything on God, you know, because the devil is just as busy. So things happen. Do not let it deter who God designed you to be. There is an assignment and an anointing over your life. Light your candle back up.
Yes.
Light your candle back up and shine bright like the king and queen that God designed you to be. If he wanted you to be silent, you would not have no vocals. Use them. Peace and blessings to everybody. May your week be as successful and filling as you design it to be.
Thank you, Teresa. And I thank you for joining. I thank you for being that open book where your story may help somebody else. And again, you know, what for the ones that didn't jump on, she talked about being molested at the age of 6 from not just one person, 2 people, 3 people, several people. And she talked about, and even sometimes we got to listen to our children, right? We was brought up in the world where what goes on in this house, stay in this house. Sometimes you got to let it out. Something, and she's saying it's okay to go tell. They threaten you and they say, I'm gonna kill your mother. So guess what? Well, we gonna get you first and tell. And then again, she said sometimes you may tell and they don't believe you or they don't help you. It's okay to go to somebody outside. If you know Miss Teresa and you say Miss Teresa, or sometimes they can see the signs and they may pull you to the side and talk to you. So it's okay. It's not your fault. Whatever you do, don't blame yourself. I shouldn't have, or I must have wore this, or I did that. Never blame yourself. Miss Teresa, could you say your contact information? Somebody asked for your contact information. Somebody said, thank you, Ms. Lee, for all you do. Teresa, you better speak that thing. Thank you for sharing. And then they need your contact information. So if you like, you can share it.
My contact information is Teresa Ellis on Facebook. That's THERESA Ellis ELLIS. That's Facebook. Instagram is Teresa. No, it's matter of fact, Instagram is TC Let's Heal Together. TC Let's Heal Together, all one word. And my contact number is 973-698-3098. Once again, 973-698-3098. Before I leave you, I just want to say this. If you are not willing to pursue the greatness that you deserve to have, don't waste my time. Because I'm going to bring the better you. Each one of us have a twin inside of us. Let's reveal who the twin that endured all these things with us. Let her breathe. Give her life. Use CPR. Whatever it is to let her help you heal from the things that was not supposed to happen to you. You are greatness, regardless of anybody else's opinion of who you are. I'm telling you, you was designed to walk by faith, not by the gossipers that want you to be beneath them. Most of y'all are supposed to be taller than anyone that you around, or at least shoulder length, but you shrinking yourself because of the depression and the things that you endure. My child, each one of y'all deserve a pair of platforms, tall as you can walk in. Let's go. Let's get it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Is there someone else that want to say something? Lois, you saying something?
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes, you can.
And that, Teresa, I asked for your contact information because I live in Florida now, but I still have family, of course, the Lees are my family, and in Newark. And I have 2 nieces. I lost my sister and my mom 10 years ago, both 5 months apart. My 2 nieces, they're adults, but they won't even talk. They won't even mention their mother's name. One of them, this was she died 10 years ago, my sister. My nieces won't even mention their mother's name. They don't drink orange juice because their mother loved orange juice. It's like it's so heartbreaking and painful for me because I can't reach them as much as experience I have with the therapeutic process. Sometimes I understand that you cannot reach family.
Wait 1 second. So Kettles is on here too, Elois. She's actually a grief counselor. So Kettles, if you don't mind giving your number as well. So she may know certain, like she said, she got, I guess, her licensed teachers of different ways that maybe that can get them out as well. So
Right.
Kettles, could you give your number or how you want them to contact you too?
Can I say something to her?
Yeah. Mhm.
So what your nieces are experiencing is mental blockage of not accepting the things that occurred before they were able to be a part of the process in which they had no choice to deal with it.
Yeah.
This is yours, nephew. That's what you're looking for?
They're traumatized because when they came home from school, they thought the mother was in the bed dead with her eyes open. So they're traumatized.
How old were they, Elois? How old were they?
They're adult. They
when it happened.
30. You know what? 30,
no,
31
when it happened.
or something like
when
that.
It happened. No, when it happened, when they witnessed their
mother. They came home from they were in elementary, they were in junior high or elementary. My sister died. So I don't know. There was about 14, 15 or 15 and 16, something. I don't even remember.
So listen, when you keep saying they're adults, they're adults. They're adults because they had to grow. They could not stop the process of growing through life, but the trauma of their mother dying as a teenager, adolescent, that they have built what's called a concrete wall, and that room, nobody have access to it. So it's waiting to be open.
Right. I was just saying they're adults, so you would know their age and not think they were small children. That's the only reason. I understand the blockage. I understand it truly. I just want them.
Pumpkin, are you clapping or you want to say something, Pumpkin? I see you clapping, but would you like to say something? Pumpkin is my niece. This is her first time on our Zoom. We finally got her to get up here. And we just want to thank you for coming up here. Kettles, are you on so you can give out your contact? Miss Kettles, her phone number is 973-508-2023. Gratitude. Again, 973-508-2023. She said gratitude to all who found it not robbery to join on this very necessary Zoom.
Thank you. I want you to also know, I heard you say about the suicide. It was another young lady that committed suicide this weekend from Weekway. So everyone put your prayers up for the children that's about to return to school, because it's going to be heavy on their heart as they get ready to attend her funeral and they make the arrangements. Is very traumatizing to lose a classmate the week of us returning back to school. So let's keep children lifted up in prayer.
And let me know if you go into the funeral or the wake. Let me know. I'll go with you as well. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear through the Office of Violence Prevention. I'm gonna reach out to Keisha because there's some things that we should know about to even join to be able to assist with them.
I've been reaching out to her. I don't know.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
You will be my contact from now on.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Again, it'll be in another 2 weeks. Well, it'll be the 2nd and the 4th Sunday. I want everybody to leave with sometimes when we look at ourselves, right? Let's think of some good things about us, or if it's your mate. And then ending yesterday, I was at my son's house and I was going through some papers and I found a card from Eric, my oldest son, who was murdered, and when he wrote it. And I ain't even bring it, I put it in a bag, but I showed Wadu, my fiance, and I said, Wadu, look at this card. And on it, he said how he loved me so much more than anyone in this world could love me. And I said to Wadu, I said, you think that's true? And he said, yeah. I said, you think you love him more? You think you love me more than he do? And he said, you know what, Elaine, it's a different kind of love. He said, he loved you as much as he could as a son, and I love you as much as, for my man. But just to even open it and see that he wrote it, like, I love you more than anybody could love you. That touched me in a whole different way. Like, you know, and so today I was like, oh, I'm gonna be, and you know, my kids laugh at me, y'all. Oh, I'm not gonna be on the Zoom long because it started at 5. I'm gonna be on an hour. Everybody I told said, no, you're not. You always be on there late. And like I say to them, I'm never gonna stop nobody from sharing. You see how we all talk? So this week, if I gotta, because I pay for Zoom, y'all. If we gotta be on the Zoom to 12 o'clock at night and somebody still needs to share, I'm gonna let them share. But
Right.
we're gonna go out and we're gonna go out with a prayer. I see my prayers out.
Oh God. I look, I just put the camera
Hello,
back on and
Queen.
you go calling my name. Hey, how are you?
All right, in yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was awesome. That is
No
awesome.
problem.
I will definitely keep you in my prayers because we
Okay.
need you. We need you. We need you. Yep. Okay. So here we go. Heavenly Father, we come before you saying thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for this Zoom call today, oh God. Lord God, we didn't really have a direction to go in, but you put us in the direction that we should be in, oh God.
Yes.
Lord God, we just thank you. Thank you for all the women that shared their story, oh God. I learned a lot from just hearing their stories about going back from the beginning, because that's where it starts, the beginning, in order to get to where we are. Thank you, God, for these women. Thank you for the men that's on here that shared.
Right.
I'm sure we got some things from them as well, oh God. It's a beautiful thing when men share and open up, because I mean, they the kings. They're supposed to be the head. So we just thank you, oh God. Continue to use this platform to get better and better and bigger, oh God. Use every last one of us on this call some way, somehow this week, oh God. Let us use something that we learned from this Zoom call to help someone, because there are people out there that's not on here that need our help, oh God. We just love you and we thank you. We know that you do all things well, so we know it's going to be all right. Thank you for saving each and every one of us, because we didn't have to, you didn't have to breathe life into us, but you chose us to be up on the wake up list, oh God, and we thank you. Lord God, we ask that you give us a peaceful rest so that we could be on fire to serve your people on next week, oh God. We just love you. We adore you. Thank you for my sister, oh God, for doing this. I'm going to continue to thank you for her, oh God, because we need this. We need this, oh God. We thank you. We adore you. We magnify your name, and we will forever, ever give your name all the glory and all the honor, because without you, we are nothing. Amen.
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 Everyone have a great weekend.
Amen.
I love you.
Amen.
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 Yes. Jesus.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Yes. Amen.
All right, everyone, good night. Love you.
Good night,
Good night.
y'all.
Yes.
Love you, cousin.
Love you.
Good night. Love you
You know,
all.
you running off her, huh? You
See,
running.
now y'all said something.
Hey.
Hi,
She
Naya.
said, see,
She
Naya, I
left.
said something. And Lois said, hi to you, Naya.
Hey.
Hey,
Good
how
night,
you
yeah.
how you doing? How you feeling?
I mean, one day at a time for me. I'm all right.
Okay. Remember, all right, it's not a feeling.
Yeah.
I like it's an opportunity to say that.
You was waiting for it, huh?
And
Thank you for
Greg,
joining.
is Greg still on here?
I don't think so. I think he
No, Greg in
Okay.
here.
He
All
And
right.
said,
I meant to say hi.
congratulations, mommy. You look so
I meant to
beautiful.
say
I'm
hi
so
to both of
happy for
y'all.
you, mommy. Congratulations.
Thank you. For the ones that don't know, I'm gonna get married in November.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I
Are
spill the
you?
beans?
Yeah, you sure
Look, did I
did.
spill the beans?
Yes, I am.
Oh, don't forget to send me an
Congratulations.
invitation.
Absolutely. I love you, Lois. I will.
I love you too, girl. You have no
All right.
idea.